Last year, 2 blowouts against Cowboys. At the same time, Dak does pretty well against Sirianni. Here's his numbers against Sirianni's Eagles. Now, granted,
that's
Sirianni
pretty good.
has had all sorts of different defenses, really good and literally the worst. But Dak's record is 4-1. The team scores
38 points a game.
Passer,
Holy moly!
300 yards a game, 16 touchdowns, 1 interception, and a passer rating of 127. Now, no one, despite this graphic, wants to pick the Cowboys, so we had to move the lines a little bit to, is anyone willing to guarantee a blowout?
Wow. Guaranteed blowout.
14 points or more. I'm
No.
not saying 30.
Yeah.
No.
A blowout
14
is
is
14.
14 is not a, it's
14's
not
a
a blowout.
blowout.
It's not a
What's a
blowout.
blowout?
Yes,
In
it
the
is.
NFL, it's a blowout. As the gambling side of the
28-14 does not feel like a blowout.
That
to
is a
non-gamblers.
blowout.
That's
It's
what
not
I'm
a blowout.
It's
two
going to be at
touchdowns.
least 14. That's
What happens to-
That's
what-
the official definition of a blowout.
I
14
agree with
or more.
Brew.
I don't want to be, this is going to hurt your feelings again. What was the Super Bowl? A mega blowout?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no such thing.
A route.
If 14 can be like a minimum
demolition.
threshold for a blowout.
What's the higher end of blowout?
There are
When do we get to
degrees.
route?
30.
30?
I mean,
There
I don't know.
are
I mean,
degrees
I
of
mean,
blowout.
Yeah, I mean,
I thought 14 is like, ooh, not great.
Buddy, hold on.
I mean, I think they might get about more than
21-7
that.
blowout?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, 21-7.
Shut them down and you put up
And by the
3
way,
touchdowns.
I'll take it a step further. Ohio State blew out Texas this weekend.
Okay. No.
They were up 14-0 and they were in control the
won't
whole
go
game.
that
Like
far,
no, I'm saying, but
Yeah,
KW.
that's not
I don't want to. This is maybe not the point of it.
No, but 24-10, I wouldn't be like, oh my
Okay, well,
God.
I mean,
No,
but
they-
8.5 is a huge point spread,
I
right?
agree with that.
Okay, so that's a huge point spread. If they were favored by
almost
13 and a
doubled
half,
it.
Well, that's
Right.
we would
ridiculous.
say they're expecting what? A blowout. Because they're expected to maybe lose by 14 points.
So
So
now
let
you
Brew answer his
understand,
question.
right?
Disagree.
Brew, okay, Brew is guaranteeing, how about
I'm
this? Brew is guaranteeing
guaranteeing
a 14
yes,
point or more
yes,
loss.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
All those stats, those
Such a dumb
gaudy
show.
stats you showed from Dak, that was all cute, well and good.
Yeah.
Several things about that. You can throw the graphic back up again.
Oh, sure.
Those all came when the Cowboys were a very good team, when they were winning 12 games a year, right? Those all came when he had a solid or stout running game,
Yep.
right?
Sure.
Somebody rushing Tony Pollard, Ezekiel Elliott, whoever it was, getting more than, or both of them combined, getting more than 1,000 yards. He has none of that now. The team is not very good. He, doesn't have a very good run game. Vic Fangio, who's obviously the defensive coordinator for the Eagles, not including it in any of these games, but he has owned the Cowboys. He's beaten them 4 straight times with Denver, with Philadelphia, with Miami. So I understand that Dak is going to have to throw the football. I think the defense is going to get scored on. He may put up big numbers, but I just think that Philly's offense is going to have no problem with Dallas's defense. And then I think their defense will shut down the Cowboys for the most part.
It's very hard, if ever, for me to guarantee a blowout in the NFL. It's normally something that I'll do week 12, week 14, like one team has quit, been decimated by injuries, season's over. Week 1, guaranteeing a blowout is tough. And Dak, not only against Nick Sirianni, went back and looked, and I'm not a trend better. We've been gambling long enough for you to know that. But, when he's been a big underdog, he's always delivered. These are the largest games that Dak Prescott has been an underdog since he's been the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. He's won outright in any game where he was 7 or a 7.5 point underdog. The game where he was an 8.5 point underdog.
Remember that. It was season opener, right?
Well, so it's the exact same scenario as this one. He was injured the year before. People thought Dallas was going to be bad. They opened against the Bucs, who were the defending
Didn't he throw
champs.
the ball like 50 times?
Yes, he had it was like 400 yards, whatever.
Most of those are 7 years ago.
Okay, but
Because
I mean, I'm just
well,
saying.
because they're not
that-
dogs.
they're
They
not
haven't
that
been
big
this
of an-
big a
No,
dog.
I know, but I'm just saying that was a big difference in that Dallas team. You had Ezekiel Elliott.
I'm not saying the team is the
team was
same,
better.
but
Can I ask you a
Dak, when he
question off
gets
that?
underrated this much,
That's
tends
right.
to deliver.
Is that a product of people forgetting how good Dak Prescott actually is?
I think that you can certainly make that argument. Yeah, like last year, Dak was not good. And I heard you say earlier, he played half the games. They were 3-5, and the 3 wins weren't that impressive,
Right.
frankly. They were low-scoring wins against bad teams. So Dak last year wasn't good, but a lot of things about Dallas last year weren't good. Mike McCarthy was on the way out. They had no running game. They had injuries on both sides of the ball. Like, that was just everything bad happening at once to Dallas. I think Dallas can score.
Yeah.
We're 1 year removed from them being the best offense in football. Led the league in scoring. They added George Pickens to go with CeeDee Lamb against a young defense and an inexperienced secondary. I'm not guaranteeing a blowout.
So yeah, so that is the part of this. The last part you said is to me the most important. I think there is a huge question about how, at least for the month of September, if not the whole year, but certainly the month of September, how good Philly's defense is going to be. And so I think when you have that many new players and that leaning on that many young guys and what appears to be a real weakness to start a year in an aspect of it, which should be your pass defense. They don't have a dominant edge or edge that really scares you for the first time since Sirianni's been there, and they lost 4 contributing secondary players. The 2 guys that are coming back are obviously the young players who were excellent last year, their first and second round pick. So if you have a team that I think early in the year teams are going to be able to pass on, and another team who the only thing we like about them is their passing game. Like right now with Dallas, the only
Correct.
part of their team that we look at as, I think, well above league average is the quarterback-receiver tandems. That, to me, is a recipe of a team that it's going to be hard to blow out because they are going to be, even if they're down 27-10, they're going to be, firing it. They're going to be staying in the fight. So I would not at all be shocked by Dallas covering the spread, by this being a game within the margins that Philly wins because they're the better, more complete, as much as this pains me to say, I have to say it, probably better coach team. And, I haven't seen Schottenheimer. Schottenheimer's never lost a game. So I can't.
John Madden.
But I think Dallas should be able to score against Philly tonight.
Put this line in perspective, Danny. It's tied for the second largest, Broncos-Titans. So Cam Ward up against that Broncos defense. They're like, 8.5. So this feels large to me. And then
well, it's the biggest. Did your graphic say it's the biggest underdog Dak's ever been?
Yes.
Yeah, it's the biggest underdog he's ever been, tied with playing defending champion Tom Brady on the road in week 1. Like, it's a huge, huge number.
The Pickens element, I don't know if we've talked about it enough. Like, if I'm Vic Fangio, say what you will about the Chiefs game, and like maybe Andy Reid is such a genius that he was showing Fangio stuff he never saw before. But I felt like we kind of knew what the Chiefs were going to be in the Super Bowl. I've got no idea how Pickens is going to be utilized here. New coach, new offense.
Well, he's going from one of the lowest volume passing teams in the NFL to one of the highest volume passing teams in the NFL.
Fascinating.
It's a pretty good spot for Pickens.
I believe in Jalen Hurts. I'm allowed to say that?
Well,
do you?
Hold on. Are you guaranteeing a blowout? You're the one who didn't answer.
I said I am the mayor of fair. I am not willing to guarantee a blowout.
Are you willing to guarantee a win?
Of course.
Okay.
I would
So they're not on upset alert.
No, I would almost prefer like a boa constrictor type of win.
Oh, okay.
Just like, oh no, like Saquon ran again. They're controlling the clock again. Oh no, it's 3rd and 2. Jalen picked it up again. Like I kind of like that blue collar win.
Okay.
Not like you guys about the fireworks.
The light show.
Yeah. Ravens at Bills Sunday night. So much of these teams' storylines, Danny, are tied to ultimate playoff success or lack thereof. Bills, Ravens, and the early aughts Colts. Only teams with 80 or more wins in 7 years without a Super Bowl appearance. At the same time, you can't win the Super Bowl in week 1. So what is on the line for Josh and Lamar in this specific game?
It's a weird one because it's kind of like everything and nothing. This is the biggest game of week 1.
Yep.
2 Super Bowl contenders, 1st and 2nd for MVP, 2 SBOB teams. Like, it's fascinating. We're all going to watch. It's going to do a huge number. It's going to be amazing. But just last year, Baltimore blows out Buffalo.
People don't talk about that.
Yeah, they don't talk about it enough.
Yeah.
In the regular season, and you're like, oh, so Baltimore lands the first punch for, tiebreakers in standings or home field advantage, and Lamar lands the big punch for MVP. but then when they play in the playoffs, the game's in Buffalo and Josh Allen's the MVP. So like it's the first punch for MVP and for home field advantage, but we know it doesn't really matter. Like on Monday, we're going to come in and say Buffalo and Baltimore can both win the Super Bowl and Josh and Lamar can both be MVP.
Yes, but I disagree with the idea that it does. I think it matters immensely. I think that game, the playoff game might have been different if it were in Baltimore. And winning that game was the only reason that they had a chance late into the year for that game to be in Baltimore. Now, they weren't able, they squandered too many other games. Not too many, just one extra other game that cost it for them. I also think that right now, the only thing Lamar has to, definitive thing to hang his hat on is, man, I am the man in the regular season in this league. We have his regular, especially as Mahomes the last couple years, numbers have dropped. Lamar is now, as you talk about, Brew, has more All-Pros than Patrick, has the same MVPs as Patrick. His regular season winning percentage is not to Patrick, but it clears everybody else. And I think it is, and by the way, and this has been, we'll talk about it more tomorrow, I assume, this is shocking that the Ravens are road favorites. This line is flipped. The Bills, this is a bit of an indictment to me on, or maybe too much of a compliment for Baltimore, I don't know. But for the Bills, remember the story was the Bills favored in every game.
Yeah.
3 months ago, and I was like, yeah, that's because they play the Ravens and the Chiefs in Buffalo, and they're going to be a favorite in every home game. But they're not. So Lamar's supposed to win. Lamar got, beat by Josh last year in the playoffs. Lamar is the regular season kind of king right now. So I think there's more pressure on Lamar than there is Josh in this game.
Here's the other thing, and I mentioned this earlier, Buffalo's schedule. Even if they lose this game, they've got the Jets. They got the Dolphins, the Saints.
It's a soft next
month. Right. Even if they lose, they're going to run off 5, 6 straight wins, whatever it might be.
Can I give you a counterpoint to that?
Yeah.
I thought it was a great point that you said earlier about their schedule. If you lose, and then you play a bunch of tomato cans,
right,
and then you hit your bye, and then you got.
You're saying if they lose the Ravens and the Chiefs,
do those feel like empty? Man, we're supposed to be we're stacking wins against New Orleans and Miami, but man, Baltimore really handled us. And if the Chiefs get
New England, is supposed to be good.
That game.
Yeah.
No, but do you think that could be a thing that even if they do start 1-4?
Or 4-1.
No, I think they look at the regular season because remember they, like you said, they got blown out by Baltimore last year, then beat them in the playoffs. They've consistently beat the Chiefs in the regular season, but then lost in the playoffs. So I think they can keep perspective. And the schedule's soft enough, they're always going to have a good record. Conversely, for the Ravens, they got Detroit and Cleveland, which they should win in week 2, but it's still a tough division game. You got Detroit, Kansas City. And look, even if this were to come to pass, I still would definitely think they're making the playoffs and winning the division. But if they lose to Buffalo,
they could start 1-5.
1-3 is on the board. Well, but 1-3 is definitely on the board. Yes. They probably would split with Detroit and Kansas City, I think.
That Browns game becomes must-win.
Yeah,
you one.
But you say that, but that's hold on.
0-4, then that's really
throw that back up if we could, Christina, please. So 2 things. One is I shouldn't have said they could start 1-5. My point is, but you have 4 consecutive tough games against playoff teams.
Definitely.
Last year we did the exact same thing, KW. Where we talked about them playing the Chiefs in week 1, and then we were like, if you lose that game, then that Raider game becomes must-win, and then they lost it.
Right.
And then that Cowboys game was
right.
Well, they blew them out early, then Cowboys came back in the second half.
Correct.
It ended up being
right.
No,
but the Raiders game is what I'm saying would be the equivalent of the Browns game. We're like
it can happen at home.
Yeah, and it did happen, and then they ended up being fine. I just think Baltimore can't, for the Lamar, but really for the team. This game, to me, has so much more importance for them because you don't want to feel like, geez, man, we're reliving last year. where we lose a heartbreaker in the playoffs to one of the other cream of the crop AFC teams. We then play them in week 1 and we lose. Like, if that's how this year's, the NFL did them no favors by, in back-to-back years, having them play the team that beat them in the postseason the previous year in that team's building.
So I know a win is a win. So much of the narrative after that Chiefs game was Isaiah Likely's toe. Like, we're right there with this dynasty in their building.
And Isaiah Likely said that's the worst we'll ever play all year.
Yeah.
I hope you don't see us again.
If they got like really handled by the Bills, I think it's.
But they don't get blown out. Lamar doesn't get blown out. But it feels like every one of their big losses is like that. Last year, it's Andrews dropped the ball in the playoffs. The year before, it's they lost their identity against the Chiefs.
Yeah, they think they only beat themselves.
Right,
Yeah.
Which is
There's a
our,
lot of
I
evidence
think,
for it.
yeah, I think
There's
they
evidence
do,
for it.
but they keep doing it all the time.
We're going to head up to Green Bay. New footage of Micah Parsons again.
Back looks fine there.
I'm not a back doctor.
There's no way. That was just them putting it out there to say, yeah, he was really hurt.
Jordan Love can visualize Micah's introduction at Lambeau. Okay. Danny, are you buying that Micah can make an immediate impact?
Sure, but I actually wouldn't bet on it. I don't think it's a good matchup for him week 1. He's going up against a great tackle duo in Decker and Penei Sewell, and the Lions run a lot, so they're going to try to run it at Micah Parsons, all the numbers that we've talked about since the trade. He's not a good run defender. And I got to imagine he's on some sort of pitch count. Like, if he's on a pitch count and he's having an epidural in his back and he's going up against a run-first team with great tackles, it's probably the worst Micah Parsons will be all year for Green Bay. I don't think it's a good spot for him week 1.
Yeah, I think he'll have at least a sack and maybe 2 and make a big, big play. Because you're right about the tackles, but Micah Parsons line up anywhere on that line. And sometimes he's standing up and walking around, all of a sudden he's kind of playing, not nose tackle, but, a hybrid version. Mm-hmm. And where Detroit has real questions this year, unlike in the past, is that interior of the offensive line. And also, I think there's real questions about Goff's self-confidence just going into week 1. Because the last game he played was such a disaster.
Right.
And so you have a new offensive coordinator in Detroit. You have Micah Parsons, who I agree with you about could be on a pitch count, but where they're going to use those pitches is the plays that that we don't want to see Jalen Hurts in, those 3rd and longs that no team actually wants to be in, to be fair. I think I don't think he will dominate the game. I think he will have a dominant moment within the game. I would bet on that.
Yeah, I think he has moments for sure. I just think back to Khalil Mack when he went to Chicago.
It's going to be good.
And that was probably his best game with the Bears.
What was it?
He hold out, and didn't really practice in training camp.
Multiple sacks, forced a fumble.
Yeah, it was like crazy.
Was the best player.
And I'm not saying he has that type of game, but I'm using that to say, even though he sat out training camp, I think he could come in. Remember, when he was in Dallas, playing on Thursday versus playing on Sunday is a big difference when you haven't been practicing at all. So I think now he's got this extra time. I think he can come in and make
Howie
a nice
Long,
impact.
when he was on here and kind of told us he thought Micah might end up getting traded the day or 2 days before he did get traded, he also referenced not only the Khalil Mack game, but Aaron Donald, who sat out most of a training camp trying to get money and then was immediately Aaron Donald. Now I understand D tackle is different because you kind of move you're left less ground to cover than edge rusher, but still, I think legendary all-time first ballot Hall of Famer in a big spot that he knows. I think those guys rise to the moment. I'll bet.
I would feel that way too if it wasn't for the back issue. You add that to it.
We're going legendary first ballot Hall of Famer here?
I mean, that's the trajectory he's on.
He's on that pace.
He's the only player in league history to be top 3 defensive player of the year all first 3 years of his career. He's the only player currently in the league to have 12-plus sacks each of the last 4 years. He leads the league in pressure since he came into the league. I understand that all of a sudden people are really worried about his run stop.
It's a bust for him already.
Wiles, let me ask you this. Is Justin Jefferson a future first ballot Hall of Famer?
Yes, obviously.
Okay, he is having the exact same trajectory as Jefferson.
He's on defense.
You can't argue with that.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.